Boston Celtics absolutely pantsed the Milwaukee Bucks, blowing them out by 41 points in their own building, with the Jays combining for 70 points. Do the Celtics now have the psychological advantage heading into the playoffs? We're going to talk all about it next on First to the Floor.
Who is going to be first to the floor here? And it was Marcus Smart, as he usually is.
Brown drives, way upon the glass.
That's not the first time we've seen a superstar in green and white sacrifice the body.
Garnett, knocked away.
Welcome in to another episode of First to the Floor. Ben Vallis here. Thank you for joining us. Hope you're doing well. I'm joined, as always, by Hot Take Jake Eisenberg. Jake, that was amazing. How you doing, sir?
Oh man,
This
is why we do it. This is why we do it.
Yes,
This is what life's all about. You know, Friday afternoon, sun shining, having a couple drinks. If you weren't in the playback room today, you're missing out. Good times watching the Boston Celtics kick the living shit out of the prohibitive favorite Milwaukee Bucks.
Yeah, playback.tv/first to the floor. If you haven't, we've been promoting the shit out of it. But if you've somehow missed it, then that's the URL to our awesome watch party stream that we do. Just like the Celtics, we get up for the big games, and we get up for the big games on our playback stream as well. 140-99. Good for a 41-point deficit there. The Jays combined for 70 points, like I said up the top. Jake, I mean, we can start anyway. Like, we're having fun with this, but maybe we should start with the Celtics defense holding, like you said, the prohibitive favorite rather in the Milwaukee Bucks to under 100 in a game that, yes, it was the second night of a back-to-back. Don't try and tell me they didn't.
I don't want to hear it.
Yeah, exactly. They did want to win this game. They did not win this game, and a huge reason for that was the Celtics defense. Tell me what you saw defensively for the Celtics in this one, Jake.
It's night and day. Are you telling me this is the same team that played the Washington Wizards and couldn't slow down Danny Avdija and Kristaps Porzingis, but were able to slow down Middleton, Giannis, Drew Holiday? I don't know who or what, but it's just a team commitment. Al Horford on the Reddit pod today talked about Jayson Tatum's nail help defense. The whole team is so good in help situations, and I feel like specifically against the Bucks and against the Sixers, they are just so locked in, and they understand the tendencies of Giannis and Embiid better than anybody else in the NBA because they've been doing it for 5 years now. Go back to Tatum's rookie season, played the Bucks round 1, Sixers round 2. We've had multiple series against both teams over Tatum's career. We just know what to do against these guys. And then defensively, matchup wise, obviously you need to show a crowd against Giannis. But outside of that, the Celtics can play the Milwaukee Bucks straight up. Middleton, Drew are the only other two guys I have on this team that are can create their own offense. And neither of them can really create their own offense comfortably against the Celtics because there's just nowhere to go. Nowhere. A lot of the way that Middleton and Drew Holiday create their advantages is through physicality, post-ups. Good luck trying to post up Marcus Smart. Drew Holiday tried to post up Malcolm Brogdon at one point, and Brogdon's defense has been suspect at times. But if you're going to pick one way to not attack Brogdon, it's going to be in that situation. Just across the board, I thought that they just were they couldn't crack the Celtics defense outside of Giannis, but that's
even then though, Giannis. I haven't got his numbers in front of me, but do I have his numbers? I don't. But
I got him. 11 for 27.
Yeah, that's not great. That's not great at all. A defensive masterclass for the Celtics, and we know what the Celtics defense and their formula looks like. Standalone for the Celtics, no matter who they're playing, we know what that format looks like. We know what the formula looks like against the Bucks, and tonight it was just a masterclass on all fronts. Switching with tenacity, rotations, closing out, recovering if the Bucks gained an advantage off switches or if a pick and roll mismatch for a second, the Celtics were fantastic in recovering and then collapsing on the drives, which not completely negated Giannis, but somewhat negated Giannis based on how prolific he is typically. And then Brook Lopez was a almost total non-factor in our playback stream. I think Lopez, he sealed Tatum off in the paint like in an early possession in the first quarter and got an easy bucket. And then that never happened again. And he was basically shut out for the rest of the game. It was incredible. Like defensively, just an absolute masterclass for the Celtics. Drew Holiday also shut out, 6 points in total. And, you know, you could say, like, yes, Drew Holiday doesn't fit that guard archetype, you know, like a Ja Morant or whatever that the Celtics typically have trouble with. But, like, he has been incredible and provided a scoring punch against the Celtics in the past. Certainly not tonight. And then, like you mentioned, Jake, Chris Middleton, hot early, but he only got off 13 field goal attempts, which, you know, in a game where Giannis isn't cooking, where you're not getting those usual looks from Drew or Lopez, you'd expect Middleton. And now I really don't want to hear it from the Bucks fans as far as, oh, Middleton, you know, wasn't playing. Only 13 field goal attempts. Like he came out hot early, but it was essentially a non-factor for the duration of the game. So it was just so satisfying to see this Celtics team who shat the bed against the Wizards, who have forced us as fans and as pundits to second guess them, because how could we not, based on how poorly they play against sub 500 teams, to come out and really show themselves in this way defensively. We haven't even gotten to the offense yet. Just incredible.
Yeah, there's comment in the chat here. The Jays took all talk about the Bucks out of wing defenders personally. Like the Celtics match up both really well on both ends, whether it's the defensive end from the Celtics, but I think in this matchup, it's the other end that's the most important. Like the Bucks have the best defense in the NBA, allegedly. Not against the Celtics, man. Like really good luck trying to deal with these guys. When Brook Lopez is playing this drop coverage, it's going to create open pull-up threes, whether that's Jayson, Jaylen. This Malcolm Brogdon addition cannot be understated. Like I did not really think about it. Like I've been thinking about how he's a perfect playoff player, can create his own shot, you know, catch and shoot three, obviously great player, but he's like a mini J in this matchup in that he can come off screens, hit pull up threes against the drop. Oh man, our poor countryman, Joey.
No, don't say it. Don't say it. We can't talk about it. We're omitting it from the podcast. We're not talking about Joe Ingles.
Barbecue chicken, like, and then, but it wasn't just Joe Ingles. It's like outside. He even got Drew Holiday a couple of times. And as good of a defender as Drew Holiday is, he's too small to like consistently hang with Jaylen and Jayson. And Malcolm's cooking Middleton, Ingles, Javon Carter. And I didn't really think about Malcolm specifically in the context of this matchup, but he's perfect for it. Like he's literally like another J offensively. And that is the value of that. This Brad Stevens guy, huh? Thinking ahead.
A plus 41 for Malcolm Brogdon in this game.
Yeah.
Good for a team high, which is exactly the end of game deficit. I don't know if that means anything, but you know, dribble penetration is something of a vulnerability for the Bucks, and not necessarily something that we had to throw at them last playoffs. Like, yes, you know, obviously the Jays cook, but you're thinking about like smaller dynamic guards who can drop their shoulders, right, and drive into the paint and trouble them and force their defenses to collapse. And whether you're finishing at the rim like Malcolm did to great success tonight, or opening up kick-out opportunities, which is going to be a factor in the playoffs, Malcolm Brogdon, I don't want to say X factor, but like close to it, right, in terms of collapsing their defense.
Like obviously the Celtics were hot from three, but Brogdon was 0 for 4. So you can talk about whatever you want shooting, and those were wide open, and he's literally top 5 in the NBA in 3-point percentage. Yeah. So it's like those were he was going off screens, and we were on the stream and we're just like, oh, that's cash. And he missed them today. But you know what? He's not going to miss those very often.
No, and getting to the rim with great success. And just more broadly speaking, the Celtics offense, 5 out, an emphasis on 5 out and generating a lot of wide open threes. We saw Al Horford hit like 1 3 from Steph Curry range, which was amazing. But 51.2% from 3 for the Celtics, just generating insane looks. Giannis was guarding Marcus Smart, at least early in the game, which I get. Like, it allows him to sort of play a Roma role, right? Which is a trend started by Ime Udoka and Rob Williams last year. But to me, watching the game, it just allowed Marcus Smart room to maneuver. He finished the game with 8 assists. And it seemed to it just seemed to open up his passing opportunities. And, we're not seeing it specifically with the highlights that we're running now on YouTube, but you could see there was so many, wide open passing opportunities for Marcus Smart as a result of just the space that Giannis was allowing him. And then you've put it here in our run sheet, Jake, the magic number for field goal attempts, 10 or less for Marcus Smart, which, you can maybe put down to how prolific Brogdon and to some degree Derek White were in this game. But Marcus Smart shooting, I would love to see the stats on this. Like what's our record when Smart shoots 10 or less shots per game?
Yeah, I know. I want to try and find it right now, but that's going to be too difficult. But yeah, it feels like that's the number when when you don't notice Marcus so much on offense. There was only one shot. It was in the second half when every Celtics fan was like, surely we can't blow this one, right? Surely this is the game where we don't blow the 30-point lead, right? Surely they come out and are locked in. Thankfully, they came out and extended the lead from 30 to 40. And Marcus took one bad shot, but other than that, it was the maestro. We had two. We've got to come up who's the most iconic kind of musical duo, because that's kind of what it feels like when Marcus hits Jaylen Brown on these backdoor cuts. He fakes the handoff, comes backdoor. It's look.
We talking Lennon and McCartney here. We talking Page and Plant.
Lennon and McCartney is what came up, but then I didn't want to get into because I know you get anxious about teams breaking up. I didn't want to mention the Beatles and the distress within the band, but I'm sure there's plenty. But John Frusciante and Flea, as far as the bassist and guitars go. But yeah, the comments are telling us get rid of the YouTube.
Yeah, there's some comments that are really throwing us off right now in the YouTube stream, that the stream has died. Jake and I can hear each other perfectly. So hopefully you guys, we've killed the video there. So let us know if we're back in your world, this world that we all share, where the Celtics absolutely blew the roof off the Milwaukee Bucks, which is absolutely incredible. Offensively for the Celtics, like we kind of talked about it, but no one can guard the Jays. And the Bucks have brought in some new personnel, namely Jay Crowder, who I was a little bit worried that might be a sort of a defensive force for the Bucks in terms of guarding our wings. Joe Ingles less so. They were completely nullified quite early in this game, and it was interesting the Bucks' persistence in playing those guys throughout the game, despite how irrelevant they were. Copyright laws. That might be why we got cancelled. Okay, good to know for the future.
So
sorry,
we're
Jake,
currently
you were going to say something. We've been derailed.
We're not live on YouTube at all, I don't think. So if we wanted to, I don't know, because I don't think anyone in the chat size opened us on YouTube, and it just says stream unavailable, stream suspended for policy violations. So if we wanted to do a fresh one to see people could actually watch, I don't know. Up to you. We can just keep going.
I mean, we're technically live. Hopefully it comes back. I suppose we can just edit all of this out of the podcast, right?
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to
take a timestamp here.
I'm searching us on YouTube and it just says stream unavailable, suspended for policy violations.
Suspended. Shit, that's not good.
Oh no, it says stream suspended. Stand by.
Because I think if we end the stream and restart it, it's a new link.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
It's
going to be.
Oh, we're back.
Are we back? We're back.
We're back.
We're back.
We're back.
Apologies to the owners of the rights to the highlights of that game, which, by the way, I downloaded off YouTube and
I know.
re-uploaded. They're on. Anyway, copyright is. This is why we need Spoonie. Spoonie's a lawyer and maybe has some sense of copyright law, which I work in IT, so I don't have that particular knowledge. Where were we, Jake? We were talking about how Jay Crowder and Joe Ingles are completely irrelevant when it comes to defending the Jays, who can, and I'm including Giannis in this, who can actually defend Jaylen Brown or Jayson Tatum as far as the Milwaukee Bucks roster is concerned?
One-on-one, it looked like literally no one. Literally not a soul on the entire Milwaukee Bucks roster could stay in front of either Jaylen or Jayson. Giannis, Middleton did not look good. Because the whole thing after the playoffs last year was like, the Middleton's going to obviously, he's our best pick and roll handler. It's going to help the offense. But what the Bucks were missing was that two-way wing. Who can someone that can hang with the Jays, but also create offense on the other end? Mm-hmm. Could not. Jaylen Brown was just cooking that man. And look, we'll get into Jaylen again, but this is such a stretch from Jaylen Brown. Like, anyone he sees in front of him right now is just food. It's, it's barbecue chicken, it's roast pork. Like, name your way to fry or cook a certain type of meat, and that's the defenders in front of Jaylen Brown at this point. And like, this is not 2020. This is not the bubble, Jay Crowder. This is 2023. This is not baby Jaylen. This is not baby aged. Jayson. Yeah. You've gone into your 30s, and as Ben and I can relate to, you want to be in your 20s, not getting away from your 20s when you're trying to defend all NBA wings. When you're trying to defend top 15 scorers in the NBA, you want to be in your athletic prime, not Sid Salmon out here. That's right, Jordan. That's what these guys. I mean, that's what Joe Ingles was today, and everybody else was getting cooked as well. And that's the thing with this Bucks team. When I was coming into the season, like, this roster is made up of a lot of older players. Middleton's been very injured. He's into his 30s. Joe Ingles, mid-30s. Crowder, mid-30s. Wes Matthews honestly played the Jays better than I could have ever imagined in that series last playoffs. Another year older. Everybody keeps talking about no Middleton. The Celtics didn't have Malcolm Brogdon, no Rob Williams. Jaylen and Jayson still entering their primes, 25, 26 years old. Like, they're better again. Like, the Celtics, once you remove the losses to the Rockets and the Wizards and the games where they're clearly not trying, they're a better team. Even when you zoom out completely, like, statistically a much better team than they were going into the playoffs last year. And it makes sense for all those reasons.
Yeah, the age disparity is most prominent in the difference in drop coverage. Both teams playing drop, and the Celtics' ability to recover and diminish any advantages created by the Bucks offense in that drop coverage is incredible, just with the scrambling and the sort of the franticness to get out and denote any advantage for the Bucks offense. And then you look at the way that the Bucks play their drop coverage with Brook Lopez so deep in drop, like basically dropping all the way back to under the rim. Set a pick for the Jays, come around that pick, and they've got like an ocean of space. And whether it's the pull-up, which they can both hit, they've got room to get in their mid-range jumper. If the defense comes up to meet them before they can get to the rim, they've got endless kick-out options. We saw Jaylen Brown with 5 assists tonight, which is just, a nice subplot in this second half of the season of the playmaking evolution for Jaylen Brown, which is really nice to see. Both teams playing drop, one team young and athletic, one team not necessarily. Advantage Celtics going into the playoffs. I don't know. Sticking with the offense, I guess zooming out a little bit. Like, what else did you notice from? I'm giddy. I'm Josh Giddy.
I know
because I'm so hyped from this game. It's difficult to look at it analytically, even though we took a little break from post game to prep for this podcast.
Like, I'm just looking at the box score, and I'm just like shaking my head. I'm like looking at Tatum's. I'm like 48, 12 from 18 from the floor. I'm like, that was the easiest 40-point game. He's had a few of these this year. The Hornets game comes to mind. Slightly different level of competition. The fact that he can just like sleepwalk into a 40-point game, man. When the pull-up three is going, if there's anything we could ask for in this world, is Jayson Tatum's pull-up three to be working at a high clip. Because when this is going, he can get it off against anyone. Like, he was just Brook Lopez out there, and that's part of it as well. I think is that there's a lot of places on this roster for Jayson to attack, so he's just so confident. But like 8 for 10 is obviously just an absurd place to be. But like, it was reminiscent. We're getting whatever the reverse of PTSD is today when he's ISOing on Giannis, just bang, bang, left, right, step back three, sees extend the lead to like 28 or something. That, that's just glorious.
What about Robert Williams, the Time Lord, who, again, satisfying low minute count in this game, which I'm loving that trend. Like, just be the best backup center in the world. Like, be that guy. Last year, it's in the past. We don't need double big. We don't need you to be that Rob. You're reinvented a la Bob Dylan going from his acoustic to his electric phase. You're in your electric phase now, Rob Williams. Just like be the best backup center you can be. You are being the best backup center in the world. Certainly much better than Luke Cornett. What did you think about his impact in this game? Because I think going in, we expected to have his minutes matched with that of Brook Lopez being on the bench, but we didn't see that. We saw him play a significant amount of time with Lopez out there. So how'd you feel about his role in this game?
Loved it. I think he got off to a bit of a shaky start, trying to kind of figure out where he was fitting in. But then it was all the Rob stuff. We were starting to get a little worried about offensive rebounds. And then all of a sudden we went on a little run to even the rebounds back out. The Bucks still ended up ahead, but we were blessed with how many blocks was it? 4 Robert Williams blocks tonight. And I'm going to hopefully by the end of the playoffs, I'll stop doing it. But he just makes so many plays that Luke Cornett can't. And I'm sorry to keep throwing just drive-by shots at Luke, but
because we love Cornett.
I really do.
It seems unfair, but it's founded. It's fair.
Because a lot of our tougher losses have come without Rob, and when he's in there, he cleans up so much. Not only does he clean up some of the stuff that Cornett can't, whether it's defensive rebounding or giving extra possessions back with the offensive rebounding, but his ability to get hands in places, he can save balls. He did that one. He ended up going back to the Bucks, but it was deflected off Rob, going back towards the stanchion. He dives, saves it. And if Derek White had just even assumed that Rob could even attempt to make that kind of play, he would have been ready for it. But it was that ball looked like it was going completely out of reach, and Rob finds a way to corral the ball with his soft baby soft hands and throw it back to Derek White. He just makes plays that other humans can't make.
It's true.
And he had several blocks tonight that the Bucks just weren't ready for. I thought he broke Giannis's hand at one point. He came out of nowhere and just swatted Giannis's shot away from the rim, and Giannis is bending down, holding that hand, which I'm guessing was the wrist that he hurt coming out of the All-Star break. But yeah, that's the stuff that you weren't getting without him.
Yeah, the leverage with an arm that long and bringing it down on any extremity, anyone's hand or feet or anything, it's going to be painful. But we don't wish injuries on anyone, so glad to see that Giannis is okay there.
Of course.
And we'll get to Chris Middleton's blood on the court situation a little bit later. I thought Marcus Smart was incredible in this game. Nothing really jumps off the box score. To us, to the Celtics sickos, 10 or less field goal attempts is the thing that's wow, leaps off the page. But just defensively, really back to everywhere and guarding, I won't say 1 through 5, 1 through 4. We didn't really see him on Lopez all that much, but he was able to guard Drew, Middleton, Giannis, anybody to great effect. And whether he was boxing out or on a switch, dropping down into the paint to defend Giannis, he was so effective. I'm not saying anything new here. This is the Marcus Smart we know and love, but to see that again consistently for, again, not 48 minutes because our starters were able to sit a significant part of the second half. And just with the variance that we've seen from the team and Smart throughout the season, to see just the guy we know again effectively in a game, incredible, huge key to the victory tonight, I thought.
He's been really, really good since the Timberwolves game specifically. I think defensively, T-Wolves game, Sacramento game, Pacers game, Spurs game, and I think tonight was his best defensive performance of them all, just because of who he was matching up with. When you're able to throw your point guard on Giannis Antetokounmpo and feel pretty good about it,
I didn't feel good about it against Kristaps Porzingis, and yet against Giannis, perennial
he can't
MVP,
shoot.
It's like suddenly you're absolutely right. That is the difference.
He can't shoot over and thank God, and I think that's only fair in this world. If Giannis was able to shoot, then let's just disband the podcast, go home, and find another hobby.
Disband the league.
Yeah,
it's over.
It wouldn't be fair. So the fact that he's able to guard Giannis at least, relatively effectively, especially effectively tonight, and the way that these playoff series go, there'll be it'll be like game 1 or 2. Marcus does a really good job shutting down Giannis, and then next game Giannis come back and finds a little tendency or something like that, and he wins the matchup the next night. But the fact that we have a point guard that's able to win, I feel you don't want to say Marcus necessarily won the matchup just because of Giannis still had 24, but the fact that Giannis was 10 for 27 and Marcus was a big reason why, I feel comfortable giving Marcus the win on the matchup tonight. Mm-hmm. When you put those two, and if you're getting that from your starting point guard, there's not another team in the NBA that can get that from that position.
Absolutely. Yeah. I would absolutely give Marcus Smart the matchup win there. And yes, Giannis still quote unquote got his, but he needed to get more to win this game. He typically gets more, which is why the Bucks are so successful. There are so few players that can switch onto Marcus Smart. For any other team, getting a switch onto the point guard is a massive advantage to Giannis. And we just do not give that up. Maybe sometimes with Derek White. Derek White tends to get attacked occasionally by various teams. We saw it, Klay Thompson backing down Derek White a lot in the finals last year. We just do not give that up to other teams. So, the fact that teams are still getting guys like Giannis switched onto Marcus Smart and going for that quote-unquote advantage, and we win that almost every time, is huge, especially for the playoffs where the game slows down a little bit. Half-court offense is more prevalent. Huge. And to see Marcus Smart looking healthy, you said since the Timberwolves game, looking more like himself, this is enormous going into the postseason for the Celtics. We do have a post-game interview conducted by, I believe, Abby Chin of Marcus Smart, which will play now. Meanwhile, the chat has gone dead. So let us know if you can still see and hear us. I'm a little bit worried that we've been cut off again, but we're going to try this.
No, I think, but go on. I can't hear it.
You can't hear it?
No.
All right. Well, we'll edit that out of the actual podcast.
Damn, too bad.
Yeah, still here. Okay, so you guys can't hear that. The consensus, the main takeaway from Marcus Smart's interview is that they wanted to redeem themselves in this one. And then there was an interview with Al Horford after the game. He was a little bit more subtle in his takeaways. He was sort of more along the lines of yes, we wanted to redeem ourselves, but we're not trying to send a message to anyone but ourselves as far as reminding ourselves what we're capable of. Reminding ourselves that we know the right way to play and to go against these top tier teams. So check out that interview from Abby Chin with Marcus Smart on the Celtics NBC Sports Boston Twitter page. Would have loved to have shared it with you. I will be properly editing this very moment out of the podcast. So it's just an exclusive for you guys here on YouTube.
This is the magic there.
It's the magic. This is why we do it live. We have a lot of fun with it, but some good vibes coming out of all the sort of the post-game chatter from the Celtics there after this one, Jake.
But yeah, just on Marcus, the whole Marcus, Derek, Malcolm thing, and obviously this has been, the mistress. There's no bigger Derek White fan in the world than me right here. But today Derek White 25 minutes, Marcus Smart 26 minutes, Malcolm Brogdon 27 minutes. And a lot of Derek White's minutes actually came in, or at least some of Derek White's minutes came in garbage time, because the Celtics are that deep that our garbage time kind of, team is made up of at least one of Malcolm Brogdon and Derek White. This matchup specifically, the calculus changes once Marcus Smart gets back to playing defensive player of the year level of defense. And that's not something that we've really seen much of this season. He's been good, obviously, but the level of defense that Marcus played last year relative to this year, there's been a pretty big gap. But what we've seen, and today especially, Derek can't get to that level. I don't know what Marcus Smart's built out of, but they're like the same height. But Marcus Smart is just so strong. Like he's able to truly battle with the Giannis's, he's the Bam Adebayos of the world down in the post, where Derek White isn't quite able to. Still, I think going to make an all defense team, Derek White. But this matchup in particular, I think is a Malcolm Brogdon matchup. Whereas like a Philly matchup, I love what Derek gives us as far as just like pace and space, getting, attacking closeouts, getting the ball moving, getting Embiid kind of spun around out there. Versus this matchup, it's really about beating your man off the dribble, which is where I think Brogdon comes into it. And, Derek can get to his spots, but Brogdon creates like a lot more space on his drives, when you're kind of trying to beat a defender one-on-one. And so I think maybe in this matchup in particular, I think Brogdon maybe over Derek makes sense, but that's fine. We can just shuffle. Yeah.
It's a luxury of riches. We've talked about it before, but in terms of guard choices and options and rotations, like we're good. It gets a little bit hairier when it comes to wings and bigs, but for guards, we've got so many options there. It's such a fortunate aspect of this Celtics team. Getting into individual performances before we move on, again, at the risk of we always go long. We're incapable of doing a podcast less than an hour. We talked about Brogdon. We talked about Smart. Jaylen Brown, we probably haven't given him his flowers. Obviously, we talked about the Jays combining for 70 points. We've talked about Jayson Tatum. Actually, maybe we haven't talked about Jayson Tatum enough. So we'll come back to Jayson Tatum a little bit too, at the risk of extending this podcast even further. Jaylen Brown, this was the Celtics' last nationally televised game of the season. Do you think he did enough on this stage to endear himself to the pundits, the media pundits out there, to get himself put on an All-NBA team? Or do you think it's yet to be decided?
It's weird because we almost needed the Bucks to actually make some shots, or the Celtics to miss some shots to keep this game a little bit closer. Yeah. Because I feel like maybe it's going to lose a little bit of its impact just because of how dominating, how much of a butt kicking this performance really was. Because like it was over. I think people started tuning out like halfway through the third quarter. Versus if the Bucks hang in there, Jaylen was absolutely dominating. I think it will definitely have an impact. And the fact that the Celtics won this game, I've kind of been saying that, Jaylen can play really well down the stretch. But I think something's going to have the biggest impact on him getting the All-NBA. Not as just the Celtics being that second best record in the NBA. We have a chance now. We're up to 18% of the 1 seed. Tell me there's a chance. So there's still a slight chance, but
gotta beat the Jazz tomorrow.
Yeah, gotta beat the Jazz tomorrow, which we'll get to at the end, I reckon. But it needed to be a more like dramatic, like if they keep it close and Jaylen goes for 40 because the score is closer. But it should be an impact. But this is just another ho-hum game for Jaylen now. Like we're getting close to 20 games of Jaylen just being like a 27, 28 points per game scorer on absurd efficiency. It's getting to a point where it's undeniable. Lowry's getting shut down. Randall just hurt his ankle. He's better than these players. Yeah. And again, this is why you stop playing with Jaylen Brown, man. Like this guy is the best number 2 in the NBA. He's dusting anyone you've got on your roster. You don't have the defenders to deal with both Jayson and Jaylen. You want to throw to at Jayson? Jaylen's going for 30, going for 35,
It's so good to see that machine humming at its best when the Jays are like taking advantage of the other one being doubled. Can't say we've seen them play that way all season. And we've got all this connective tissue with like Derek White and Horford and Smart and all these guys who know like how to balance the scales with Tatum and Brown at either end. It's magical to see when they're actually firing on all cylinders in that sense. It's beautiful basketball. Just Tatum very quickly. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Jake.
Well, I think today they either tied or took the lead on duo 30-point games. Tatum and Jaylen have now tied or taken the lead on Shaq and Kobe. And
wow.
And that's it. It's Shaq and Kobe and Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum for 30-point games at the same time. Like, it's rarefied air.
Yeah. And speaking of rarefied air, Jayson Tatum, 8 of 10 from 3.
It's so ridiculous.
It has not been a good shooting season for Jayson Tatum this year. And the last time, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Jake, the last time we saw Tatum play in Pfizer Forum or whatever it's called, maybe didn't go 8 of 10 from 3, but was like absolutely dominant generally from all areas of the court.
Yeah.
And to see him actually shoot like crazy efficiently from 3, just a necessary like brain massage for all Celtics fans to finally see them go down to that level. That was really good to see. You might say that it's a product of the Celtics playing the right way. They play the right way. They generate the right looks for Jayson Tatum. You also might say that he was just hitting some shit because like he had that step back. Was it on Lopez? Where it was borderline travel, step back, loose.
He's like falling down.
Feet not set. And, it might have been his 7th or 8th 3 at that point, but just completely wet on the jumper there. So really nice to see that back. Let's hope that it remains. Let's get into missed takeaways. We talked about Joe Ingles. There's something there as far as like he's an Aussie, shrimp on the barbecue chicken, but we need to go offline and explore that a little bit further. Blake and Thanasis.
Oh, this is amazing.
The headbutt, and then Blake putting on Jaylen Brown's mask, which again, at the risk of getting kicked off YouTube, we'll just share a little image here. There you go. Courtesy of Wayne Spooney's Twitter account. Amazing. Just good vibes. Blake continues to be the vibes like captain of the team, which is incredible. I mean, I hesitate to ask Jake, but any takeaways from that particular moment?
Honestly, it was just like fuel on the fire. It was already a bad day at the office for the Milwaukee Bucks, and then the cheerleader, the pom pom parader, Thanasis Antetokounmpo gets to get at the game, and he like headbutts. Firstly, it was an offensive foul, and then Blake was like, "I'm not letting you finish the and one," so grabbed him head-to-head headbutt, and the reverse angle is beautiful because Thanasis gives him the headbutt, and then Blake is just like, "Whoa," and then just starts dying laughing. It's hilarious. He's just
like, "I'm fucking Blake Griffin. What are you doing? Like,
so what are you doing?
You're a famous sibling."
It's a 40-point game. Fucking settle down. And then we get the shot of Blake putting Jalen's mask on, and we got the post-game comments of Jalen saying maybe everybody in the team needs to wear a mask,
Please.
It's beautiful. So it was just vibes all around, and then like the complete inverse. It was like when we lost to the Warriors like earlier in the year. I imagine for the Bucks, it's like where we are that for them now. Mm-hmm. It's like for whatever reason, the matchup, whether it's mental, personnel, roster construction, this is now going back a long time. Celtics have their number.
Yeah, totally. Bodes well going into the playoffs. Mm. The only other missed takeaway I had, this is a stat that I stole off Twitter. In the last 4 matchups with the Bucks, when the Jays play, the Celtics have outscored them by 103 points in total, which is incredible. I believe that includes the playoffs. But
game 6, 7, and then Christmas Day and today.
Yeah, we all remember that Christmas present. So, Jake, moving forward, like I sort of have harped on about the psychological advantage for whoever won this game. Thankfully, it was us, the Celtics. What does this mean going into the playoffs?
I think this reinforces, a lot of Celtics fans' beliefs. Personally, I've been someone that's been pretty confident. Like, I think if you zoom out, the Bucks are technically like the better team, maybe like overall, like a day-to-day basis, full season, they're going to be better maybe, but like that's not how you win a title. You need to be able to play different ways. You need to be versatile. The Bucks and the Celtics, like once we get to the playoffs, I just love the way that we match up with them. And if you're a Celtics player, there's something that there's a confidence that they play with. Whether it's Sam Hauser when all the starters are missing in that second game of the matchup this season, where he was cooking, Jack White was cooking. Throughout the stream earlier, I looked up the last 10 games versus the Bucks, and the Celtics are shooting 39.6% from 3. Because every time the Celtics beat the Bucks like badly, we hear Bucks missed some threes, Celtics were super hot. That won't happen again. You go back 17 games against the Bucks. That's like this season, the playoff series, the season before, and the regular season before that. The Celtics are shooting 40.1% from three over 17 games. Like, this matchup, like, that's a huge sample size.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, crazy sample size. And I would be terrified to hear that stat if I was a Bucks fan.
Well, the Bucks, they give him up. Like, it's a known entity. It's a known thing about the Bulldog Holzer Bucks is that they give up a shitload of 3-point looks, and we're going to take them. And guess what? Our roster is constructed such that we're going to fucking make them as well.
Yeah.
If we're ever playing the right way, if we're getting paint touches and kicking out, we're going to make those threes. We did it today. I think we shot 52% from three. We're going to do it in the playoffs, right? Right? Please? I hope that's the case, unless we go completely cold.
It would honestly be a statistical anomaly at this point, Ben, if we didn't. It actually would.
I loved Hauser checking in late in the game and just like immediately just like stroking the nylon as well, just continuing.
It's mental as well. Like there's obviously the matchup part of it, but there's also this a confidence now that like we can get where we want when we want against the Bucks. You're gonna have open shots. You just gotta knock them down, and this team can.
Absolutely. Well, look, we're going to move on, and as part of a modified Schadenfreude report, we're just going to have a quick look into the Bucks subreddit here and see what's cooking in their post-game thread. Have not prepared for the segment at all, so just looking at a couple of comments here to take the pulse of the Bucks fans here. So this user, totally not suggested, says, still have hope for the playoffs, but a prime opportunity for a signature win turned into a game where everything went wrong. Nothing positive to say, which warms my heart. And then a response, nothing positive, ? The Bucks are the number one team in the NBA, and you won't even remember this game once the playoffs started. So nice little emotional tug of war there for the Bucks fans. And then another user, 414 Miles. The Celtics have to be holding a black magic ritual before every Bucks game. It's legitimately insane how they shoot this consistent at such a high pace while we simply forget how to play basketball. Jake, you love to see it. I'm
telling you, they're going to figure it out. These stats are going to start circulating. And then once, it's just like a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's like, this just happens over and over and over again. Like, what do we do? And Mike Budenholzer doesn't adjust. There's gonna be fire, Bud. There's gonna be a Bud. Do something. Adjust. It's gonna be happen like game 3, maybe. Celtics go up 2-1 by
please.
Celtics win game 1 in Milwaukee. Bucks bounce back, win game 2. Come back to Boston, and it's like a 20-point blowout. And the Celtics shoot 40+% from 3, and it's gonna be like we have to change. Budenholzer's got to do something, and it's going to be like, it's too late. The genie's out of the bottle. The genie's
Mike
out.
Scala already hit 10 threes in game 4, and you've been eliminated.
That's right.
Grant Williams was one of the nominees for the 2022-23 Twyman Stokes Teammate of the Year Awards. Which is interesting, Jake, because we had Grant Williams' father, Gil, on the podcast during the offseason. He was awesome, super nice guy, and gave us a really nice insight into particularly Grant Williams' offseason work ethic and the sort of training that he was doing. There have been some low points, for lack of a better term, for Grant Williams throughout the season, and I think something that is starting to bubble to the surface is like, how much exactly do the rest of the Celtics team like Grant Williams is the way that he conducts himself on the court as far as like complaining and pandering to refs relative to his lower status as a player in the league. Is that quite annoying? It's certainly annoying to fans. How is that affecting his teammates? And yet he's a nominee for Teammate of the Year. So how do you feel about this nomination, Jake?
Did they ask his teammates about this?
I would only assume no.
Yeah. Yeah, because I don't think Tatum would have signed off on this if he was asked. Grant, D Rose doesn't play basketball anymore. Surprised Udonis Haslam's not there. Oh, he is. Never mind.
He is there.
There you go.
Yeah.
They're the best team
looking
out
a
of the
little
world.
old, I gotta say.
Yeah, he is. He is. I think he's
Real
qualifying for the
Leatherface.
pension sheen. Grant Williams, look, I probably would have gone for the President Brogdon, but I need more information on who the voters were, who put forward this nomination. Probably Grant, if I was to guess. It's one of those awards where you have to nominate yourself. Maybe that's where this happened.
So if Twyman Stokes called you up, Jake, Mr. Jake Eisenberg, we'd love you to provide a nomination for the Boston Celtics for teammate of the year, even though you live in Tasmania and have no contact with the team whatsoever. Who would you nominate for the Celtics?
It's close. I need to dive deeper into it, but it's either Blake Griffin or Malcolm Brogdon. I don't think it's particularly close. Blake, I mean, the vibes that he's clearly provided, but you can't underrate Brogdon and his kind of presidential lobbying that he's been doing behind the scenes to keep Jaylen Brown. Like, you watch the Showtime doc with Pierce, and he's sitting there being like, you guys built the culture. We're just trying to do the same thing. Jaylen Brown, he's the best shooting guard in the NBA. He's going to make all NBA. He's, look, Brad and him are in cahoots. There's some backdoor lobbying going on to get Jaylen Brown to re-sign here, and I'm here for it.
Shared presidentialness as well. I knew you were going to use the word presidential as well for Brogdon.
Yeah.
Presidential Malcolm Brogdon, President Brad Stevens. There's a shared likeness there. Who's the first of the floor teammate of the year? Are you talking about as in like the teammates on the podcast or the teammates?
I think so.
For me, it's on the team. At least it's absolutely Blake Griffin with Luke Cornett. Basically the Bus One boys, which I think we're all aware of.
It's Ben Jordan.
Well, I don't know. It's an equally there's a community vibe with this podcast. We all chip in.
Classic Ben response. Very Malcolm Brogdon of you.
Thanks. It's Blake Griffin and Luke Cornett is a runner-up
there.
The Cornish game hen. How can you deny him? Let's end
the Cornish game hen. Jake finally got it today on the stream.
Yes, there was an admission from Jake on the live stream today, and I'll leave it to you guys to sign up to our live stream to get more of that sort of goss and juice in the future. Playback.tv/first of the floor. Sign up. It's free. It's awesome. You have a lot of fun there. The upcoming schedule. We've got the Jazz tomorrow. Jared Weiss had some good quotes after the game. So Mazzulla says that he's going to talk to Rob and Al on the plane to see how they're feeling, but sounds like it's possible they'll play on a back-to-back for once. I think we've heard that before, and that did not happen. So I'd be surprised to see both Rob and Al, particularly Al, play tomorrow against the Jazz. And then again from Jared Weiss on Joe Mazzulla. So Joe Mazzulla essentially said he wants his team to enjoy the win and understand why they won, then recognize tomorrow's game is worth the same in the standings, and they have to show up again with full force and focus. Noted that he trusts his team to do that. So for me, that's like automatic loss, right? Like that's everything we know about the Celtics. Like, you're just setting us up for a loss psychologically to accept that before the fact.
I will be so annoyed if either Rob or Al plays tomorrow. Like, I went back and forth with Bobby Manning, a colleague of CLNS Media. Like, why would they play either Rob or Al? We don't need the one seed. Health is so by far and beyond the most important factor heading into the playoffs than anything else. And then Bobby's like, statistically, being the one seed helps your chances. You don't want to play Game 7 in Milwaukee. Where are we? Like, do we need to be worried about playing a Game 7 in Milwaukee at this point?
Apparently not.
We dominated them in Game 6. We beat them again here. We almost beat them earlier in the year. Like, this team has no issues playing on the road. Health is like in the sky as your first priority, and the one seed is your second priority. But that's like so far away from health. Like, and by the way, I think the Celtics' best chance of winning tomorrow is by resting. You know what? When this team wins is when like there's people that are playing desperate. Hopefully that's why Peyton Pritchard rested today, because he's actually good to go. But they knew they had their full complement of players today, and they had the back-to-back tomorrow. Pritchard is perfect in this spot. Let's just give Pritchard 30 minutes. Cornett, Muscala, I don't care. Like, rest Tatum as well. I know Jalen's not going to rest because we need the All-NBA push here. Tatum, Horford, Rob, rest. Maybe Brogdon as well, honestly. Like, why not? And I still feel very confident in our ability to win that game. Like, the Jazz aren't that good. They're on a road trip as well. We can still win it. They're probably more likely to win it than if we're healthy.
Yeah, and the main Celtics, they've been eliminated from the playoffs. So get
Yes.
JD and Cab on the plane, first class. I mean, it's a private jet, so whatever. But into Boston for that game and get them some heavy minutes so that we can get some rest for our starters there. And yeah, book a Jaylen Brown like 40, 45-ish point game as he continues to push for his All-NBA campaign. And then we got the Sixers on Tuesday night, not a nationally televised game. And certainly our performance against the Jazz will dictate like how hard we need to try for that Sixers game in terms of continuing to push them down to remain in that 3 seed and to keep the Celtics out of that spot. Would certainly love to see them go not all out, but to try for the Jazz game so they can relax a little bit for that Sixers game. Then we play the Raptors twice in Boston, and then the last game of the season is the Hawks in Boston as well. So 3 straight games at home there, which is great. But the Raptors, they worry me a little bit, like they're jockeying for play-in position. They have typically played us tough, even though they're not, the Raptors of old this season. It seems to always be a tight game against them, and to play them, back-to-back, essentially, is a little bit terrifying, especially if like we're concerned about trying to get that 1 seed. I almost hope that the Bucks can just wrap up that 1 seed and that we can wrap up the 2 seed, so we can kind of just take it easy against those guys, because I'm worried about them, adding a little bit of extra wear and tear on our guys where we really need to be preparing for the postseason.
Oh, that's a good take. I like that.
Finally, I had one.
Yeah. Look how shocked Jake is. Like the Bucks actually winning against the Sixers, kind of eliminating the Celtics' chance at the 1 seed, but then wrapping the 2 seed as it is. Honestly, as of right now, according to playoffstatus.com, which I literally just is my brain at this point, I've just refreshed it 20 times per day for the last 2 weeks. The Sixers, after today, have a 1% chance of the 2 seed, and the Celtics have a 1% chance of getting the 3 seed.
Okay.
And so it might be because like we've got what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We essentially have a 3-game lead. We would need to, I think we need to lose out. I think we need to lose every game, and the Sixers need to win every game for them to catch us. So
not going to happen.
So I don't think so. So that's why I think we should still be rooting for the Sixers to win, to keep that option open.
Interesting.
Yeah.
We'll see. All right, that is gonna do it for this one. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you're enjoying this moment as much as we are. Just like what an occasion to blow the shit out of the Bucks at this juncture in the season. We'll be back with another pod early next week. In the meantime, go and follow us on Instagram or TikTok, First to the Floor 18. We've really been pumping out the content over there on our socials, Twitter, YouTube, etc. Subscribe to our YouTube because we're clipping, various portions of the pod. We're putting up standalone videos, analysis, breakdowns, and things like that. So find us on YouTube if you haven't already. There's good content for you, plus those numbers. They obviously help us as we try and build this project that we're working on. Jake Eisenberg, love your work, mate. Until next time, go Celtics.